Hi book babes! Oh my goodness, what a long time has it been. My name is Ainsley and welcome to my library. For today's video, it is pretty much a heavy topic. Life has been kind of difficult for me for the past month. But so today I'm going to be giving you guys some book recommendations, specifically books that are having a character that's grieving. The books today that I'm going to be mentioning, they're not books that are specifically about grief. They're not like how to help you process. They're not self-help books. These are just books where the main character is going through grief, and that is something that I'm going through right now. On February 6th, 2024, my cousin lost his fight to osteosarcoma, and this has been something that he fought for 5.5 years. He was diagnosed whenever he was 12, and he just recently passed away at 17. His name is Devin Pitkus, and he was one of the best people I've ever met, and it's really difficult to talk about him. He was so intentional in the fact that whenever you had a conversation with him, you felt like you were the only person that mattered to him, because he just honed in on what you needed, what you were saying. He was completely, fully locked in to the conversation, and you never left a conversation with him feeling unheard or unseen. He made a point to make you feel like you were literally the only person in the room and only your issues mattered, and he wanted to make you laugh. He wanted to sit and cry with you. He wanted to be there with you. Like, he was 100% for whoever he was with, and his spirit, his heart, just his joy was a beautiful thing. And living without him has been really a difficult transition. Obviously he was my cousin, so he wasn't in like my day-to-day life, but the fact that he had been fighting cancer, he was always on my mind, whether it was at the front or the back. I was always thinking about how he was doing, how his family was doing. He was just always on my mind, kind of. So to be in this point of life where I know he's resting, I know he's home with the Lord, and I'm extremely grateful and happy that he's there. I still really miss him, and I'm supporting his sister and his brother and his parents, and just watching them go through the grieving process it's been a hard season for all of us, and we're just taking it day by day, kind of. And if you guys see all these purple books behind me, his favorite color is purple, and I'm wearing red because he loved Spider-Man, like, genuinely. Oh my gosh, he loves Spider-Man so much. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. First up, I have 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. This book, I'm actually not going to tell you guys kind of what happened, simply because it's kind of like, not really a plot twist, but it's a major like plot point as to what happens. But you are grieving a living person in this book, so I don't know. This book is really good because you're grieving the living, and a lot of people don't process that. A lot of people think you only grieve once the person has gone away, but you start grieving somebody as soon as you're told they're no, like, they have an expiration date. Like, I'm living my life without an expiration date right now. I mean, like, we kind of know it's coming, but there's no reason for me to live with oh, my death is coming. Like, I'm living right now. But grieving somebody who's alive is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and this book validated my feelings so much. So if you are grieving somebody who's still alive, but like, you know that they're leaving you soon, this book, 100% this book, it is beautiful. Next, I have You Reach Stam by Dustin, and literally I tab this book so much. This book it's kind of interesting. Like, what it's about is really interesting. So whenever I've had people pass away in the past, I've never once called their phone number. I don't do that because I think it'll hurt more whenever I realize they won't pick up, so I don't call. But in this case, her boyfriend passes away, and so she decides to just call him. I think she wants to hear his voicemail or something, but he picks up. He literally picks up the phone. What? So she is literally communicating with her boyfriend, and he's obviously passed away. He's not here anymore. And it's just her trying to navigate life with him, but without him. Like, everybody's like, why is she coping so well? But like, she's literally talking to him, so she hasn't really had a loss yet. But it's just her going through the motions of grieving him, and kind of, I would say this book focuses on the grieving part that takes you from like denial, anger, to the acceptance part of it. So you literally are with her until she accepts, okay, this has happened. And then she starts trying to live life without him and just take it day by day. This book is so good. It's so beautiful. I did a lot of annotation whenever I read this book. So it was a good book. I think I gave it 4 stars. It's a little unrealistic, obviously, because like if you're currently grieving somebody, it might be difficult to read this book and know that like they could call and get a phone answer, but like you can't. So there's just varying levels. Next, I have The 7-Year Slip, and I actually was reading this book whenever I went to his wake and his celebration of life. And it wasn't funny, but I just find it interesting that whenever I decided to pick up this book after like months of wanting to read it, I didn't realize how much grief the 2 main characters were going through. And I picked it up, I think like the day that he passed away, I had started reading it. So I just think it's just like insane how I was going through like the height of my grief. So our main character lost her aunt, who she was extremely close to, and the male main character love interest, he lost his grandfather. And so it's kind of just seeing them like months after it happened. I think for him it was years after it happened, but just how they're trying to live their lives now in a way that's honoring to those who have passed. So I wouldn't say that they're currently grieving, but they're still trying to process all the emotions and just living life without these 2 people in theirs. So it's really, really good. I would say grief is like a heavy key plot point of this book, simply because they both are trying to just take a step forward with the grieving. And actually there are like book club questions at the end, and 2 of those questions are about grief. So that just shows that grief is like a major theme in this book. And it was good. It was beautiful. It's like magical. Okay, this apartment literally travels time. So whenever she steps in, she goes 7 years in the past. It's beautiful. Genuinely, such a good book. Next, I have All This Time. And this book was actually so beautiful to read. I bought it. I should have it on my bookshelves, and I cannot find it anywhere. I looked for like 15 minutes for this book, which is insane. But so anyway, this book is beautiful. It covers, again, boyfriend losing girlfriend. There's a lot of twists. This is like, again, like the height of the grieving, because it is literally him the day it happened and the following days after and like the months after. So this book is about grief, and it is magical, and it is beautiful, and it is just so heartbreaking. I found myself crying with the main character and just sitting in that emotion with him as he's going through the grief. So this is a beautiful book. Whether you're grieving or not, you should still read it, because I absolutely adored this book. Genuinely, it was so good. And whenever I was reading it, my grandma told me to put the book away until Christmas was over, because I wasn't spending enough time with her or the family, because I was so invested in this book. Like, I would wake up in the morning and I would read all day, and I think it was the nighttime, and I was like so close to being at the end of the book, and she was like, you need to put your book away, you're not spending time with anybody, because this book just completely sucked me in, which is great and exactly what you want. But there is a lot of depth to the story. So like, don't go in thinking, oh, this is going to be like a beautiful romance. No, you're going to be heartbroken. You're going to be sad. But it covers the grieving process. And if you're going through grief, you just feel so seen. And it just like, I felt so comforted whenever I was reading this book. Next up is Goodbye Days. This book was kind of interesting. It is about a teenager who texts his friend and just says something, I don't know. But his friend looks at his phone to read it and accidentally gets into a car accident. And so I think it was 3 of his friends were in that car and they all passed away. And so people are blaming him for it because he sent the text that ultimately the driver was looking at. We're not even going to place blame. I'm not even going to say if I agree with that or not. We're not even getting into like the blame part of it. A text was sent, it was read, 3 people were killed. That's what the book is about. And he is trying to deal with this grief. Everybody is mad at him because of it. They're blaming him, and he's kind of just trying to figure out, is it appropriate for him to grieve his friends? Like, he's lost people too, but nobody can get past that. So he feels guilty. He misses his friends. He's grieving. It's really, really rough for him. And he ends up spending a goodbye day with each of his friends' families, which is basically just a day that they get together and they just talk about all the memories, all the characteristics, just all the beautiful things about the person they've lost. And hence why it's called Goodbye Days. They just kind of celebrate and mourn together as a family and with with their child's best friend. And it was a beautiful book. It's definitely a really, really hard book. I couldn't imagine having any like goodbye days. I guess we kind of had one though, so. Last but not least, we have The Chaos of Standing Still. This was actually, believe it or not, the first book that I read that covered grief. Genuinely so serious, because I was reading it and I was like, wait, why is this so deep? Like, I was like, what is this? This book was so good, so beautiful. It's about this one girl who, her best friend also passes away tragically, and she has a text message from her on her phone. She has not read it. It's been either almost a year or over a year since her friend had passed away that she has not read this message. She kind of has this like strange addiction and desire to be on her phone 24/7 because that's where her best friend and her communicated last. And you kind of see that like she has started doing some habits that a person shouldn't have, but since she is grieving, there's like some wiggle room and like it's okay that she's doing those things. She accidentally switches phones with somebody at the airport, and they're stuck there overnight. Obviously all the snow, that's not snow, that is snow. Obviously all the snow, they're stuck at the airport overnight because of a snowstorm. She switches phones with somebody and she's trying to find him and switch back her phone to get her phone back. And this night, the night that she's stuck in the airport with this very attractive young man, it's the first time that she's allowing herself to have fun and to just live in the moment since her friend passed away. So her life literally stopped the day that her best friend passed away. And she is finding it very, very difficult to keep living life, start creating these fun little moments for herself again. And we are reading a book where she's literally taking that burden and that weight off and just allowing herself to have fun and be present in the moment and to create some more memories without her best friend there. Okay guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sorry that it is such a heavy topic, but we're all going to go through grief at some point, so I just wanted to make kind of a list of books that you can read to where like you feel seen and you feel validated in your grief. So yeah, that's it. I am so sorry that my posting has been so inconsistent. Obviously my life this past month has been a little crazy, in terms of I'm just now getting back into like a normal routine. I gave myself a lot of leniency those first 3 weeks of just allowing myself to just sit in my sadness and not forcing myself to do something. But now I'm finally starting to like get back to the world and school, work, all of that. So it's been a difficult adjustment, but we're getting back to being adjusted, which is good. But so I haven't been making videos for like the past month, and school's kicking my butt. Genuinely kicking my butt. I'm over it. But midterms are coming up. I have spring break, and then I just literally have like 10 weeks. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.